Well, we thought we had it set up the right way, but we don't. I'm sitting back, relaxing, and I'm sitting back. I thought the music was gonna play. Thought I set it up the right way. I didn't set it up. I guess it changed studios on me. I did a show earlier today, so I thought it was up, and it just changed studios on me. So don't even show
Whatever to the music, right?
I'm looking. I'm looking. I didn't see it. I'm like, golly. So we changed studios. I see it. I see. We changed the whole studio setup and everything. I don't even have all my stuff up. But anyway, we're here. We're live. We're going to do this show. We're going to make it happen. And it still works. It still works. It's been a while since I've been on here hanging out with Dee. I hope y'all enjoy seeing her face out there because I do. I do.
It's good to see you. It's good
So
to
how
be
you doing, Dee?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Haven't seen you like this in many years.
Yes, ma'am.
10
Yes,
years.
ma'am. And we're going to continue doing this show. Y'all don't know Dee. Dee's stubborn. Y'all just don't know how stubborn Dee is. I try to talk to Dee. I try to encourage her to do stuff. She's just stubborn. She gets in, but once she gets going, she don't stop.
You can't stop me.
She don't stop until she gets where she's going. So I'm gonna stop looking for this intro.
I don't think you need it, bro.
I don't need it. We already in. So let me just go back over here and get back out of here and talk to Dee for a minute. So Dee, what's been going on in your life for a little while?
Nothing much. Nothing much at all.
I find myself talking about you. I was with my cousins the other day, and I was telling them, I said, it's a small world because you meet people, and when you meet them, you never know how they tie back to you. You never know how they get how stuff happens back to you. And I was telling them, I said, I met Dee through Bernard. And my cousin called him something else. Her name is Jan. She called him something else. Mm-hmm. And she called him by his government name. And she said, yeah, we've been knowing each other since we were kids. And she was telling me about the stuff they used to do, sing in the choir and stuff like that. And they used to ride bicycles around the little community that they was in and all of that. And she just went on to share that little bit of stuff. And I was like, oh, I said, but the way I met Bernard, I said, I didn't meet him outright. I met Bernard through my friend named Dee that does a radio show. And she said, oh, man, it's a small world.
Small world.
Real small world. So,
real small world.
Yeah, so I was telling her, I said, Dee is an amazing person. I wish everybody in this world was like Dee. We wouldn't have we would have less problems. Because she's going to tell you what's on her mind.
I don't know, Ron. I might not be that amazing.
Huh?
Sometimes I might speak up too much.
Oh, don't even try it. But it's the truth. I mean, sometimes telling the truth is something that people got to deal with.
I'm a truth teller.
Yeah. We got enough of that going on in the government today. People want to tell half lies, half truths, and all of that.
But nobody's telling the truth in government, so we might as well forget that. It's been like that.
Oh, they ain't gonna never tell the truth. They don't. Yeah, they want to sit there. They want to run for office and all the rest of that deal, and then it's like, I am what I am. You take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's pretty scary if you ask me. But you can't trust somebody in government.
No. Speaking of not trusting anybody, we got an intriguing topic today, and my friend named Dee, she always comes up with all of this stuff, and she always says different stuff, and she always says, Ron, how is this happening and how is that happening? And then we sit there and we start discussing it, and then she said, when I asked her today, she said, Ron, I don't have nothing to talk about. I don't know what I can talk about. So I just started throwing ideas out there, and she came on board, and I see Melvin right out there.
Hey, Melvin.
But anyway, I just want to tell you that we're here. We're going to discuss this, and we're going to try to I think we had this discussion before on Blog Talk, but I think it's time to have it again because Dee is shy. I ain't never seen this shy person here. I'm gonna be honest with
I've done
y'all.
this in years. As a matter of fact, Melvin Wright keeps asking me on my page when I'm getting ready to start my show again. I'm supposed to start it again.
I have never seen this side of D. And I'm telling you, she giggling, she laughing, she's in a different world. I'm about to ask her, what you smoke, D?
Nothing.
You
I
want to share
don't
something with
smoke
everybody?
anything. Coffee, Brian. Just coffee.
I'm just messing with you. But anyway, we're gonna get into this show, and I think we're right there. And D, did you read the title of the show, or did you just walk
I
over?
did. When to disclose. I think
Yeah,
that's what you put up
HIV
there.
disclosure on the first dates, privacy, ethics, and informed consent. And one of the things that D, I want to let you take it for a little while, because I think that you could kind of go with it for a little bit. So I'm gonna just sit back and kind of let your giggling, your smile go across the airways, and I'm gonna engage a little bit too. But right now, I just want to listen because I haven't heard your voice in a while.
Yeah. Okay, so when to disclose. That's what Ron was saying. And the reason why I'm on here to talk about it is because I've been living with HIV for 28 years. And when he says when to disclose, it's when do you disclose your HIV status? That is a tough topic for a lot of people. Some people ask, a lot of us who are living with HIV, we call us long-term survivors, people that are living with HIV 28 years or more, 20 years or more. They ask a lot of questions and they want to know, well, when am I supposed to tell somebody? You tell when you're ready to tell.
Mm-hmm.
When you're ready to tell. Me living with it for so long, it becomes easier for me to disclose. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll tell you the same day. I'll tell you the next day. I'll tell you a week later. It just depends on how I feel. Having a conversation with somebody, you can kind of tell when you're able to disclose. A person should disclose a lot of the times in a open place, maybe a restaurant, maybe a park. Don't do it at your house. There's some people that are not wrapped too tight, and you may get attacked when you tell them that you're living with HIV. So do it somewhere open, go to a library, bookstore, like I said, a restaurant, a park. Do it while you're on a date. I don't recommend anybody doing it in a text message. You can do it over the phone, but disclose. For me, it's morally right to disclose. It's always been.
Can I ask you a question on that? And here's my question. You're not obligated to own anything on the first date. I mean, we're getting to know each other. We may have had 2 or 3 conversations, and that's about it. And we might get on that first date and not even have a conversation about anything. We might be going two totally different directions. So why do you have to tell me all your business on the first date? I can't follow that logic.
And you're right, you don't. If somebody is not living with HIV and there's 2 people having a date, you don't tell that person all of your business on the first date. So just because you're living with HIV doesn't mean you have to tell someone that you're living with HIV right off the bat. Why? Why should you?
Yeah, and that's standard. Yeah, and I heard I'm going on what I heard. I remember this young lady, she was trying to explain. She said, that's my business. She said, now if we get to about the 4th or 3rd date and I see you getting a little frisky, I'm gonna have to disclose at that time. But if we're on our first date and we're getting to know each other, even after I disclose, I could still be your friend. Because I'm gonna be honest with you up front. And that's what she was saying. She said, I'm gonna be honest with you up front, and I'm gonna let you pick. I'm gonna let you see if you really want to be my friend, because I don't want to be around nobody that don't even feel comfortable with me, that don't understand me, not trying to understand. I ain't got nothing that I can just cough on you. I ain't got nothing that I can just tie you down and make sure that you have it. I have to do something to give it to you.
But guess what, Brian?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll tell someone and they don't even want to talk to you. They're done. It's because of the lack of knowledge, the ignorance of not knowing. That's what I call it. People aren't educated. So if you're not educated, you're afraid. People are afraid of what they do not know. And if you don't educate yourself on it, how will you know? Some people are
you know
in the 80s because
that's where I was getting ready to go.
Yep. And there's a lot of people
they'll see you and you're disclosed, and you're probably safer than anybody else out there. But they'll see somebody like Magic Johnson, they'll run up on them and hug on them, kiss on them.
Don't hug me now.
But because we are nobodies, they'll distance themselves from me. But if Magic came up, oh, can we take a picture? Can we do this? Can we do that? It's double standards. I remember what's a young lady's name? Karen Stanley? Was that her name?
Oh gosh, Ron, that was 2015.
I know, but I still got a good memory.
Yes.
I still got a good memory. So I remember her coming on and telling us about how people treated her. I remember you saying about how people treated you over the years. Has it gotten any better, Dee? Because my biggest thing at that time was dentist and a doctor. And I remember the stories that y'all was telling about going to dentists and doctors, and I was like, golly, you're still human.
So it's still the same for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a lot of problems, Ron. Maybe it's because I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what people think.
Mm-hmm.
People say, this is me. This is who I am. My oldest daughter even tells me she forgets that I'm even living with it. So, I mean, if a person just lives their life and be themselves and have confidence, that comes out of you. And your energy brings people to you. That's just how I see it. I could tell everybody I've been married twice living with HIV. There's some people that haven't been married at all. I'm not afraid to disclose. And I was just talking to Ron earlier today, and I was telling him how I met someone. But when I told him that I was living with HIV, he was kind of like, what? Wait a minute, what did you say? And so he didn't want to talk about it, like at all. He said, let's just keep having a conversation like we've been having it. And I said, but how can you do that? If you don't want to talk about it, it's part of what I live with. So we're going to have to talk about it sooner or later. No, I don't want to talk about it. It makes me uncomfortable. I said, then I make you uncomfortable, right? No, you don't make me uncomfortable. So in other words, he just wants to act like it doesn't exist right now. He wants to keep knowing who I am without talking about that, because he likes who I am, but he doesn't like that I have HIV. It's so confusing.
Oh.
So he doesn't want to talk about that part.
You know, I like to keep it real. I like to keep it real. So if you got any kids out there, just step away for a minute. So what he's saying is he like the visual, but he don't. He like the conversation.
Yeah.
But he don't want to face the real deal.
He don't want to talk about it.
And see, you can't. I've been knowing Dee for a while. We done met a couple of times. I done met Dee here in Houston a couple of times. She has been on this trail, this mission of telling people about HIV and sharing her thoughts and how she lives with it and how she deals with it. Man, I don't think you could ever meet a better person than Dee out there. And I'm gonna be honest with you, because she doesn't. She's been the same way from day one. And when I seen her, I said, Dee, you got this bubbly personality that comes across, and you never let up. It seems like you never let up. Nothing takes you down, even at your worst moments. And it was just a couple months, maybe a month or two ago. I could barely understand what she was saying on the telephone. She said, Ron, I got something. I just can't kick it. I just can't kick it. And she was sounding like a grizzly bear over the telephone. And I was like, I said, Dee, that ain't you. That ain't you. And she said, Ron, I'm dealing with this, and I can't talk, and I'm trying to tell her about doing the show, and she said, Ron, I can't even talk to you on the telephone. how I'm gonna do it. But that's the kind of thing that we have to get away from. We have to educate people, and we have to keep it going. Dee has traveled across the country in different cars, and she came back to Texas. She drove down to Houston. I think it was. Dee, how many stops did you make? I mean, you made so many stops that time.
Me and Deirdre went from Denver to Houston, from Houston to Dallas, from Dallas to Baton Rouge, from Dallas to Louisiana, from Louisiana to Baton Rouge, from Baton Rouge to Atlanta, and drove all the way. We drove together, and then I drove all the way back by myself. So we drove, goodness, like 4,000 miles.
Yeah, so you was getting the word out, you was sharing it. And that's the thing that we need to do. And I'm gonna tell you something. I saw something else, D. Houston has a STD problem real bad.
It's bad.
You know, they I hear these athletes talking about these women in Houston. It's bad. It's getting bad here in Houston, and I don't know. I haven't heard. I hear about the statistics, but I don't hear anybody out there trying to talk to them about it or telling them that it's a real problem here. Because I almost said it, but I was going to say this when we was talking earlier. Them ass and titties get you stuck in something that you don't really want to be in.
It's bad.
And, yeah, so it's really affecting our youth now, where it was where it had a point where it was going, but it never. Now our youth is just passing it like it's running water, and I don't even know if they know if they got it or not. They're not even being tested, D.
Well, we always say the Black community, it's like a taboo. Nobody wants to talk about it. Still to this day, after 28 years, it's still the same. Nobody wants to talk about it. I just told you the guy didn't want to talk about it. You know, people just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about it, but yet they want your company. They don't want to talk about it, but yet they want what you got. They don't want to talk about it, but they want some affection. They don't want to talk about it, but they got to get you in a position where they want you and they can handle you. You know.
It's the Black community. Again, we don't want to talk about it. There's like the numbers go fluctuate. There's 1.2 million people living with HIV in the United States. Okay. And I think the numbers for Black men, they go up and down. At first I read it was 39%, but for me, I could have swore it was like 47% of people living with HIV in the United States are Black. 47%, somewhere around there. But then I looked recently and it was like 39%. So you're still not sure. Black women that are living with HIV are at 58% of all women living with HIV. And we're only 12% of the population.
Wow.
Like, come on, Brian.
Wow. As I would reflect on our previous shows, I think about all the people that we had on. And I remember this young lady that you had on. And I think she had contracted it from her parents or something like that. You may not remember back. And she was saying that she didn't care. She was just going to live with it and she was going to go on. But she acted like you could tell in her voice that she was kind of sad. But I see you looking up in the sky. So I think
I remember Bianca. She's passed away.
Oh man, I didn't know that. She was a sweet young lady too.
Just sweet.
Yeah,
I remember doing that show, Ron. I was actually sitting in the parking lot at Walmart with my computer doing my show, using Walmart's internet.
We have to do what we have to do. Thank God Almighty, we have to do what we have to do.
Absolutely, I remember
because I was listening to one of those other podcasts today, and the guy was saying, and he's got a pretty good podcast following. He said, "Man, so I used to go to McDonald's, I used to go to Walmart, I used to go anywhere I could go to get free."
I was determined. Oh, I was determined.
You were.
And I sat in that parking lot and did my show for I think 3 weeks in the Walmart parking lot. Because where I was, it's a long story anyway.
Yeah.
And I says, okay, well, you're not going to stop me from doing my show. I'll be back. And I drove down the street to Walmart.
And that's what we have to do sometimes. That's if you're determined to get the word out and do different things. I don't care what you're doing. It ain't just got to be about HIV or anything else. If you get determined and you have a purpose and you're driven by that purpose, you can't worry about what everybody else says.
Fight to keep it going, no matter
Yeah.
what nobody says.
'Cause
And
you-
around that time, it was new. So, I was trying to help educate a lot of people. So there was no way I wasn't going to miss having the show.
Because it's important to you. It's important to you to get the word out. And that's the thing that when you bring up this subject, people kind of cringe and they go their own ways or they do this and the other. But normal people, that's what I try to tell people. It's about normal people. It's probably somebody around you that's a child killer or something. And they looking at you every day, and you sitting there and you running from somebody that's trying to be treated like a human. I can't follow it, can't get with it, not gonna go that way.
I remember some years ago, I had a really good friend. She's Hungarian.
Okay.
And I used to go to her and her husband's home all the time in Las Vegas. They always have get together. So I was starting to get to know her brothers and her family, and we were really close. And when her brother found out that I was living with HIV, he told him he wasn't coming over there anymore if I was there when they gave something. And her husband told him that they didn't care if he came over or not, but they were going to continue to invite me over. So I remember I was there one day and I was sitting down near her having coffee or what have you. And when I got up to leave, I said, when your brother comes, sit in that seat. Make sure he sits right there. And when he sits down, say, oh, the people who sit there a couple of hours ago, just to get a reaction out of him. Because, come on. You party with me. We used to dance together. And then as soon as you find out that I'm living with HIV, you don't want to be next to me. I tell people all the time, you don't know who's living with HIV. It could be the person standing next to you. It could be the person at the register. It could be your coworker. It could be your mom. It could be your brother, your sister, your cousin. You don't know because people don't tell. And just like Melvin had put in that comment, because of stigma. That's exactly why people don't tell. Because of that, because of stigma. I remember meeting a young lady and I was mentoring her. She was just having a lot of problems, while she was living with HIV. And I said, well, you have to tell one person. There's not one person that you can tell to help you. And she said, I probably can tell my mom. And so I said, I don't mind talking to you, but just find someone close to you in your family that you can tell. A sister, a brother, even if it's a best friend. And so she says, I think I'll tell my mom, Miss D. And she was 27 years old. And about 2 weeks later, she called me. And we talked on the phone. And she says, I said, did you tell anybody? She said, I told my mom. She said, you're not going to believe what she said. And I'm like, what did she say, sweetie? She says, my mom's been living with HIV for 30 years.
Sad.
You see?
Sad.
Well, her mother birthed her while she was living with HIV. She never told her daughter. Her daughter was 7 years old. So you never
had to go through that stigma.
But you never know who's living with that. So then her and her mother developed this bond now. Now she can help her daughter get through it. She didn't need me anymore. So you never know who's living with it.
And just because you're out here having a conversation, and this is the thing that I hate, D. Because you're having a conversation about HIV doesn't necessarily mean that you have HIV.
You hit the nail on the head.
People take that. People just act like us.
You're afraid to talk about it because of that.
What I try to do is talk to everybody. I try to engage with everybody. Everybody's, and maybe this is a fault of my own, but everybody starts at 100%. I don't care who you are.
Right.
It's how you treat me afterward. And that 100% means a lot to me because I can't pick and choose my friends on stuff that's happened in their past because if I did that, I'll be living in a hollow log drinking muddy water by now.
Right.
Because
Right.
you just can't. And some people are just genuine people. When you come into contact with them, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you got to take them to bed with you.
But you know what?
You should be able to engage in conversations
People
with
should
people and just talk.
It's we have the internet. When I was diagnosed, honey, we didn't have the internet.
Say it.
Like everything is on the internet. You can learn everything from the internet. It's there. Whoever's listening, just to say this, people who are living with HIV cannot transmit HIV any longer, as long as they stay on their medication. There's this thing called virally suppressed. They become virally suppressed, which means undetectable, which also in turn means U equals U. So as long as we stay on our medication and we stay adherent to our medication, we cannot transmit HIV at all. Not to our partner, not to our children, our unborn child. So I have a daughter who's 23. She's not living with HIV. She'll be 24 in August. So we're living normal lives just like anyone else, but people refuse to educate themselves about it. And then we talked about the HIV criminalization laws, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
And those laws came about in the 80s. And people were going to jail for felonies for not disclosing, just for not disclosing. They didn't even have to transmit HIV to anyone, and they were going to prison. Because now of this, HIV has changed, and it's the science now. We're believing in the science. And a lot of states, a lot of advocates are getting coalitions together, and they're modernizing the laws in their state. And did that in Las Vegas. You don't have to disclose your HIV status in Las Vegas anymore if you're undetectable. You don't have to say anything to anybody. Well, you just said that. Why should you? Especially on a first date anyway.
Absolutely.
But again, for me, it's morally right. And that's probably because I've been living with it so long that it doesn't bother me to disclose. But you don't have to disclose in Las Vegas. It used to be a felony. There's a lot of other states where you don't have to disclose either if you're undetectable. People that are listening might not think it's right. But if I can get married twice and have a daughter and none of them are living with HIV, what does that tell you? So there's minimal virus in my body that I cannot transmit. And other people out there who are undetectable.
Wow.
They call it virus.
See, that education that's what we need. We need that education because too many people want to go with what they see on the internet, what they heard on the internet,
Right.
what this person put out and what that person put out, and it's the gospel, so I'm just gonna run with it. But I'm not going to stop and educate myself on anything because, for one thing, I don't know, D. I just feel like it's a different story out there to be told. And I feel like this should be out there. It's a part of life, and you telling it. And people like you in Melbourne are putting it out. And
Melbourne's not even living with HIV, you guys.
See?
Melbourne is an ally because he's had family members pass away.
That's what he
pushes just as hard as
we didn't recognize it, but that's what he said right there. He said, "Hey, man, I lost four family members to AIDS."
He's not even living with it.
And that's what you need. That's what we need, Melvin. That's what we need more of because D just educated people that was listening. They might have thought that you were living with HIV
just because he said something.
Yeah, because he participated in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Melvin. I'm glad that you're a part of this and right. This has to be put out there. D has a friend that's she's a little crazy. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Crazy, that's her name. Damn crazy.
Yeah, she's a little crazy. D has a friend that's that we used to talk to all the time, and she used to D. If you think D is,
she's an ally. She's not living with it.
Oh no, I know she's not, but
You talking
she's
about the one who was a sergeant on the police force?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And
Now her
we
nickname is crazy.
huh?
Her nickname is crazy now.
I believe it. Because the first time I met her, I said that girl ain't rap too tight.
But guess what? People listening to her. Everybody has their own way on how they educate. And I used to get people that say, "What's wrong with her? I don't like her." And I said, "She educate the way she want to educate. People listening to her. She's not lying. She's giving the facts straight. So she'll make a video and it'll say AIDS across her head. AIDS. Ain't I the shit? Ain't I the shit? Excuse my language, but that's what it means. But she uses that to bring people in, and then she educates them.
You have to do stuff like that because
irritated because she writes AIDS on her forehead. She even writes it on her belly. But I think it's funny. She's like a comedian. That's the way she's gonna educate people that listen to her.
And that's the approach you have to take, D, because so many people they open their mouth, but they don't open their mind.
Right.
And that kind of gets me to probably the next point that I want to go to. And I heard you say that. Oh, Melvin got something else to say.
What do you say?
Hey, D,
Yeah,
send
Melvin
the link if you want to, and bring him into the show if you want to.
She do.
You can send Melvin the link and bring him into the show if you want to, so you don't have to make all those comments. He can come in if you got time, Melvin. We just ask that you're in a quiet environment.
You know what bothers me though, Ron?
What's that?
Is our churches.
It's what?
Our churches.
Oh Lord, don't get me started.
They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to educate people about it. I always say our Christian folks in the Black community, and I'll say it again. Hold on, let me send this to him. They it's too much. We talked about judgment, and I think the Black community again. I think HIV is a gay virus, and it is a virus. It's not a disease; it's a virus.
Well, no, but gay people. Oh no, you ain't walking over there because they got gay people in the church. Don't sit there and try to act like they don't.
For me, it's the judging. And I always say it doesn't matter how people live their lives. If they want to live their lives the way they live them, let them. But I think because a lot of us in the Black community are so intertwined into church and the Bible, they use the Bible when their children, mostly their male children, are telling them that they're gay. I call it unconditional love. We say we have unconditional love, or that God love. But as soon as your son tells you that they living with HIV, you push them away. You don't even care if you're a teenager. You will put them out the house. And it's not because they're gay, it's because you embarrassed. You're embarrassed. You're embarrassed. Wonder what everybody gonna think what you did wrong. Let that child live their life. You cannot change who they are. And I've seen it done too many times. The sad part is, Ron, a lot of these young Black teenage boys will be put out of the house and then they'll contract HIV because they have to survive. And a lot of them will meet someone older than them who is living with HIV. And because they need a place to stay, they will be with them and stay with them because they're taking care of them. Some of them will end up doing sex work. I mean, come on, you're putting your teenage child out of the house. What are they supposed to do? I've met a couple of Black gay men who contracted HIV this way. So you love yourself in the church more than you love your child? Where's the unconditional love at? Where's the unconditional love? And then what happens if that child passes away? How will that make you feel? Will you still be angry that they're gay when they pass away? Like, again, where's the unconditional love? We talk about the church and we want to be Christians, but some of us don't have unconditional love for human beings.
You know, it draws me back to the scenario that I was listening to, and it makes sense. This guy said he went to the church. I don't know if I'm gonna get this church part right, but I'm gonna get the second part right. So he went to the church. Say it was one of those churches where everybody was told to be quiet. You couldn't clap your hands, and the music was playing. And he said he was saying "Amen" out loud. He was really getting into it. He said before long, say he had people looking back at him because he was saying "Amen" to what the pastor was saying. He was going into this scenario and stuff. And he said somebody came, said one of the deacons or somebody. I'm making this. I'm ad-libbing this part, but he said one of the deacons or somebody came up to him and told him, say, you know, you're gonna have to leave. So he sit there and he listened and say he was saying, I gotta leave. Say, ain't this the church? And he kind of explained to him, we don't worship God like that. So he said it to himself, and then he took it in. He said he didn't want to make a scene, so he got up and he left. So he went to a bar because he was kind of he said, I want to take this edge off. I just left the church. So he went to a bar and he went to grab his glass, and it spilled all over the bar, went on the floor and everything. He said the bartender came running. The lady next to him said a guy ran up to him and asked him, can I buy you another drink? I saw what happened. You kind of got clumsy there. My point that I'm trying to make is you can go to a bar and get treated better than you did when you was in that church. Nobody was running up to and criticizing them, saying they didn't come out and say that you're too drunk, but they treated him like a human being in a bar more so than they did in the four walls of a church. And that's the way society is. They think because they wear them big hats and they can quote every verse in the Bible.
Don't mean nothing.
And they could tell you if you take your next step, and they can apply a verse to it, and then you take another step, they can apply a verse to that. If you turn left, they can apply a verse to that. But they can't have the decency just to help somebody in need.
It don't mean nothing.
They can't have the decency to help somebody that's in need, somebody that fell down on their luck. But you can pass them an offering plate, and if they don't put anything in it,
what's that around?
oh, you gonna hey, he ain't put nothing in the offering plate. And let them go in need, or they put in the offering all that time. I told you shouldn't have took me here because I'm on the road.
I stopped going to church a long time ago.
If you go to a church and they passing that offering plate,
right,
they're more concerned about that offering plate than they are you as a human being.
This is my church right here.
Oh yeah, take it with me.
I read it right here at my desk. This my
you know
church.
What? That's part of my church. It's up there by my bed, but I pack my church everywhere I go. I tell people this all the time. I get down on these two things in between my thighs and my calves. That's my church. That's where I get my.
And it's sad that we have to feel like that. I have been trying to find a church, so somebody will tell me about one, and I'll go online and I'll watch them for a few weeks to see if that's a church I want to attend. Oh, nope, not that one. Oh, here's another one. Oh, nope, not that one. Let me tell you why. Because as soon as they start church, they start passing around the plate. I went on one where the preacher was preaching about giving the church money. Like, come on. What happened to, I say, the old way, like when we were growing up, where they had Bible study at home, where there was a family who cooked, and everybody went to their house that week for Bible study. There's a church that I did find here where I'm at now, and it's called Friendship, and they do that. And while I'm watching online, I'm listening. Okay, whoever's going to donate their $5 today, come on up, bring your envelope. Do you know what they do with that money? At the end of the week for next week, they find a family to give the money to. How many churches you know do that still? Not very many.
Oh, no,
So I
because
think we have to talk
they
about
building
community.
and I don't want to get too far off. They building their faith
Yeah.
on the building. They building their faith on how much money they can collect to get to a larger building. Are they building their faith? They don't realize that people are coming to them because they're delivering a message, and people want to hear your message.
Mm-hmm.
They come in those churches and they want to see a show. They want to see that musical theater.
Yeah.
They want to see that music. They want to see how many people jumping up and down, screaming.
Yeah.
But the real reason why we're talking about church, because the church
can be educating people.
Should be educating the community and sharing that information, or have something within the church. Look, I don't know about that right now, but let me tell you something, bro. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna get somebody out there and bring them into the church so they can educate my members. Because I know if I can get you educated and feeling good about yourself, I know that you can be a productive member of this church. They don't do that. They ain't worried about that. And that's scary, because that's scary, D. That's just another show. I'm gonna have to yield, because I can go deep into that.
That's very. You remember years ago when I used to do the show every month with the pastors, the two pastors that used to come on, and we used to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And those pastors were living with HIV.
Mm-hmm.
Sad part is people think that, and both of them were married. One of them found out he was living with HIV. He had only just got married, and they were married only a few months, and they were having this big community event, and in his city, and he was invited, and because he was the pastor, they had a testing van there, and it was just a whole health event. He said, "Oh, come on, honey, let's just go get tested." They went and got tested, and he found out he was living with HIV, and they had only been married a few months. But they're still married to this day. I think they have one child who is grown now, but they've been married for years. The thing is, people think because you are a heterosexual man that you're gay if you say you're living with HIV. And it's not. There's about, I think it's 1 in every 1,000 heterosexual men contract HIV. It might not be 1 in 8, but they're still contracting HIV. And a lot of people don't believe it. I remember there was a woman a few months ago who was going around saying women don't transmit HIV. Do you know how dangerous that is to say that?
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous. Because if I stop taking my medication, I can ultimately transmit HIV to someone. And then guess what? I'm going to jail for HIV criminalization because I listened to this lady who told me that I can't transmit HIV, only men can.
But D, you're not the dangerous one.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. But you're not the dangerous ones. You know who the most dangerous person out there with HIV is? A person that's sleeping around that won't go get tested.
This is what I say. It's people out there who think they may have it. And again, it's the fear. It's the stigma. This is why people won't go test it. It's because of the stigma. And that's the only way that I can put it. And when they say that the vulnerable population, it's not a vulnerable population. I say it's anybody who is not using protection. Anybody can contract HIV. It's not a vulnerable population. But the Black community is the higher rate of HIV diagnosis.
D, I need you to touch on something else, but I want you to go over Melvin's little comment on.
Well, I sent Melvin the link in his Facebook Messenger. If he wanted to come on. He says that's why we got education, the church and the schools and local leaders. I'm thankful that my church takes part. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. There are some churches that will. Yeah, and that's
I
good
want
that you're.
to add up Melvin's next comment, and then before we get off the air, I'm gonna hit you with a hard subject. Then, what does that mean? Is it a word that I don't know or something?
What? Oh, he mean preach.
Because he said
That's what he
teach,
was
and I
trying to
was
say,
like,
preach.
I'm gonna let D handle this one because I don't think I know what that means. But D, we had some serious conversations, and I know with this in these times that it's a lot of stuff that's being cut out of the government and different supplements or
Funding is being
grants
cut.
and stuff that was out there. It's going away, and how do you think that's affecting the community?
So HIV funding is being limited. That's how I say it. People say it's being taken away. I say it's being limited. And some people might not like what I'm going to say. And I've told you this before, Ron. And then I'll speak on what you said. I don't care who the president is. I really do. Because I trust him. I don't trust him. That's number one. But as far as our HIV funding, I'm not scared, Ron. I'm just not scared. As long as I can continue to give my medication, I'm not scared. But the funding has been cut. I mean, if you go to the CDC website, you don't really see much. And it used to be there. A lot of people have gotten fired from the CDC, and he's rehired other people. Even HRSA or HIV.gov. I mean, these are sites that you can go to and get all of your education from. And you can't do it. Like, remember, I used to do my show and I used to say, go to HIV.gov. HIV.gov. All the funding is being taken away. And then those smaller HIV organizations, the ones who are actually doing the work, that's what I say on the ground, they have to figure out a way to keep going. So it's limited, and it is scary. But I'm not.
And you also touch bases on something else, and it's almost like anything else. If used the right way, and I'm gonna say this again, if used the right way, it becomes a tool to assist and aid. But we both know that if used the wrong way, it becomes what did we just say about that church? A tool.
There are people who have misused HIV funding. I know of some because I got caught up in it. So, there are some that you misuse HIV. And because there's so much money out there being issued for HIV, I don't even know what to say.
It was.
Yeah.
It's not there no more.
It's not there.
And people don't know how to deal with I remember and this may be telling, but I remember when there wasn't no funds out there. There wasn't none out there, and people still managed to get the word. They still managed to get the word out. You're telling me because your pockets are not full that it's not important to you. Was it ever important to you in the first place?
I call them the long-term survivors. The ones in the 80s. I mean, when I say they fought dirty to get what we needed. So I can, to this day, I still say thank you to them because I wouldn't even be alive. It's because of them, where they had to picket and strike out in the streets, beat up, put to jail because they're gay, and they kept fighting. We don't have that fight like that anymore. What did Brian call it? Dirt advocacy? Brian Jones called it dirt advocacy. You got to get down in the dirt to get information to people. That's what they did in the 80s. Nobody does that. Now everybody just gets funding and you don't know who's actually doing the work or not.
These almost like those and I'm not gonna just put that. I'm not gonna let y'all hold that stigmatism for people doing wrong with funding
No,
because there's a lot of
because I know a lot
organizations
of
out there.
them who are actually really doing work.
Yeah,
And this is going to affect what they're doing. I know a woman who owns a whole clinic. There's people that are really doing the work.
and it's important within the community because, like I was heading this way because so many of those ads and stuff that you see on TV and you hear on radio talking about helping animals and dogs and all the rest of that. They just as fake as anything else. They'll throw up a picture, throw up a picture of a child that was in Ethiopia 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and collect funds on it, and you donate your money thinking it's for a good cause. It's no different than anything. They go find the stragglest dog in the neighborhood, take a picture of them, and you getting up and you donating your money to, and you think that you really helping somebody. I don't prescribe to that, but I'm just saying it's not only in the HIV community. It's almost like when we went through that, when we went through what's golly, it's been this in COVID, and they was offering people money for COVID, and you had to have so many employees. There's people still going to jail behind that because they didn't have one doggone employee, and but they got that quick money, but now they got sit. They got to sit down somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, it's like anything else. And I don't want you to. I'm sorry, Dee. Go ahead.
I said, just tell everybody out there it's simple. Just educate yourselves. Just educate yourselves on HIV because it's not as scary as you think it is. And one more thing I always say, Ron, I said, shoot, they might be passing up. Somebody could have been the best thing in their life. But because they got HIV, they don't want to talk to them. But you could have passed up that one great relationship all because someone told you they were living with HIV. We healthier than anybody. You know how often we go to the doctor? We can check for everything. Everything. From head to toe. How many of you go to the doctor and get checked from head to toe?
I think that people don't understand that it's immune system disease. And you can't catch it. you can't catch too much. You don't even want to be around anybody that's sick because your body can't fight away whatever you're around. So you're right, Dee. That's something to think about. That person that's running away from you, you should be afraid of them. Because that's
another thing. Real quick, I know we gotta go. That's another thing. So people will say something about living with HIV. And then I'll say, well, I'm already have HIV. I don't want anything else. So I'm very careful and selective about who I date or who I sleep with because I'm living with HIV already. I'm not gonna just sleep with anybody because what if they have something else and then I have HIV? Then I have HIV and herpes, or I have HIV, herpes, and trichomonas, and I can just keep going on and on. So no, people
have to have some real conversations, some real adult conversations.
Sleep around, but that's not true. I got it from a 10-year relationship. Yeah.
And Dee, Melvin has put another note up there. I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, he said they come out of their pocket. Melvin, I've been doing that for years. Yep. So bless you. Thank you for what you do, Melvin. We all appreciate you.
We sure do. I appreciate you, Melvin. I'm glad that you're an advocate. I'm glad that you're standing on the outside looking in. I'm glad that you show that it's not about.
He does a lot in Florida.
It's about caring and doing stuff.
You gotta have more.
Yeah, and Melvin, I want to tell you, I love giving people their flowers while they're still standing. It's nothing like walking up to a box day. I call a box day a coffin day when you got a coffin laying up there and they Sunday go meet their Lord, and you up there trying to confess to them what oh man, I'm glad that you helped me out. I'm glad that you did this. I'm glad that all of this. But here's the thing, Melvin. They've been sick for maybe a month or two before then, and you never went out of your way to say nothing to them. They've been sick for almost a year, and you never went out of your way to say something. So that little guilt thing that you feeling at that moment when you see them up there in that box where they can't respond to you, you might as well keep it to yourself.
I say that all the time.
You might as well keep it to yourself, because unless I talk to you the day before, I heard a guy say this, and I'm gonna share his story. He said, I went to a funeral and say it was a guy that was suffering. He was sick. I said he was suffering. And he loved playing dominoes every day. This particular guy said that his guy played dominoes every day. He used to sit down and play dominoes with him. He said, but when it came to that box day, everybody wanted to come up and talk. Everybody had something to say. And so he was saying, he said, you know what? Y'all ain't got nothing to say, because it ain't like he just got sick today. He been sick all this time. So if you got something to say, how come you didn't tell him when he could respond to you? How come you didn't tell him so he could have a fight within his system? Because you never knew how his day was going, how it may have helped him to go another day. So don't waste your flowers on a coffin. Waste your flowers on that person and tell them that you love them. You love being around them. I enjoy you as a person. That goes for mama, daddy, sister, brother. I don't care how you feel about it. Yeah. Just make sure that you communicate that while they can still respond and accept it. You never know what that means. I contact D. I text D every day.
It means a lot too.
Every single day. We don't do that much on the weekend, but on the weekend people texting me, and I respond to it. But I try to keep it at a minimum, because you do have a life to live.
I think Ron, you might have been texting me like this for the last 8, 9, 10 years. I get a text message from Ron Monday through Friday. He might miss one day, he might not, but Monday through Friday, he'll leave me something, say God bless, or have an amazing day, don't forget you're special. God knows, every single day. Every day.
And I get your name wrong too.
One time he says, I hope I'm not bothering you doing this. You don't have to respond. But I don't think he realizes how much it means to me when he does that. Because I need it. Thank you, Brian.
I think that I think I'm up to 45 now. I can't go no further. Because I'll be sitting there and I'm texting and going on. I'm like, but it's not about me. And one of my friends passed away, and I always ask myself this question. I think that's when I started doing it. I wonder, and I'm not saying that it wouldn't intervene on suicide or nothing like that, but he committed suicide, and that was one of the things that I began to ask myself. I say, if somebody would just gave him some encouragement every single day, or and it didn't have. You don't have to outline their day or come up with phrases, because I know my grammar ain't that good, but I still try to encourage. And I hope that, and Glass says it like this: I hope it's charged to my head, not my heart, because my heart is in the right place. My heart is to deliver a message of encouragement, and I text. I got to a point where I text each and every one of my kids.
Yeah.
I text my kids, and I text my grandkids, the ones that have cell phones. I text them, and if you think you don't reply, they don't reply at all. But they still, I don't hold it against them.
You still send it though.
Yeah, so I know that they got a lot of stuff going on in their life, and they have to work, and that's the thing that we should tell our kids, that I understand that you're working toward an objective right now. And I don't want to deter you by saying, hey, text me. No, don't text me. You know that I care about you. That's enough.
That's all you need. Yep.
So D, if you was going to give anybody advice, or give them any advice that they could take from this show, or any other show that you did before in your time, and I know that I done seen you at one of them box days. We knew the person that was there. What would you tell somebody right now?
Tell people, don't push people away. Love them for who they are. no matter what, no matter what that is, no matter how they live, no matter what they have, love them for who they are. Because you never know when you'll see them again. Just like you said, anything can happen. Anything. So,
See, you know, and I'm gonna say this, and Melvin, I appreciate you coming on the show. I hope that you can join us sometime. If I can get Ms. D to commit to a consistent show, if I could get Ms. D
shoot, I need to supposed to be starting my show all over again. I still haven't did that.
I'm trying to get her that I wouldn't even worry about this one if she did that other one. She ain't even motivated to do that now. So I'm just
once I start, that's it though.
I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to get you there. Huh?
I just have to start.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at you. You got all the equipment. You're sitting here talking to me. You're doing everything that you're supposed to do. You changed up your wall, and I'm just gonna tell you a story because it ain't no bookshelves back there no more. None of that. I remember you just told me that. So, what's holding you back, D? That's all I'm gonna say. But
this is what I always say, Ron. I do whatever God tells me to do. When He tells me to do, and I know where I'm supposed to start my show. I know. I just don't know why I haven't started yet. You told me it started too.
As Byron Glass says all the time, if you could just reach one.
All the time.
If you could reach one, that's the objective. Just reach that one.
One.
And we'll move from there because one turned into two, two turned into four.
Turn into three. That person tells somebody.
And then you just invite somebody in. If you hear this show, if you're listening to this show right now, and I see some people out there. If you listen to this show right now, tell them about D. Tell them about D. Tell them to keep encouraging D.
Yeah.
Because she sometimes I just think that she don't know how important it is that she gets the word out there. Not everybody has the personality of D, and she tries when she gets going. If y'all could just prime that pump enough, and she gets going, she won't stop. She won't let y'all down. She'll continue doing it. So, D, again, it's always a pleasure to get on the air with you. Melvin, again, it was nice to meet you. And if she don't get her stuff started soon, we're going to do another one of these because I'm going to hound her to no end. And I'm going to keep her coming on the air till she starts doing her own. And then I'm going to back off from there. But
and I'll see you and the gents tomorrow, Ron.
Yeah, because I don't know what we're going to talk about. There's so much stuff going on.
You guys' show.
You know, I just did a show, D. And it's almost like any show that you do, that you get on the air with, you have to know the beginning. You have to know how we got here, and what started this. Even with HIV/AIDS, if you're going to talk about it, you have to have somebody that was there, somebody that experienced it, somebody that understands what it's about and what the struggle is. And that's what we do here. That's what I try to do. If I don't know it, I get out there and I figure it out because I had all kind of notes on this side of this computer that I was gonna go through with D, and we up on the hour and I haven't even got to one question over there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, D.
Did I answer him?
Huh?
Did I answer him?
We didn't even get to one question over there because I want to ask you what was you equal you? And
I already said it. That's what I said. Did I answer him while I was talking?
No, but I do want to know what
you equals you is virally suppressed, undetectable. That's you equals you. Undetectable equals untransmittable.
Let me see if there's anything else.
I did say it, but I said undetectable.
See, I had a question that say, why might HIV status be considered irrelevant during the first date? That was one of the questions. I'm going to go to the next one. What does the you equal you concept mean? And why is it important in HIV? And see, I had questions, D. I don't get up here. I'm not playing. I'm serious. What are some of the arguments supporting HIV status disclosure before sexual Ron,
I think we should crawl up under a rock and just disappear. If people think we shouldn't have sex, we shouldn't be in relationships, we should nothing. I'm getting married again for the third time. That's gonna be my last marriage. Watch.
You hear that, don't you?
I'm getting married.
Lucky guy, if you out there, you heard it, didn't you? She made the announcement here.
I'm getting married again.
You heard that. And D, I'm gonna go to the next one. What is it meant by informed consent in the context of HIV status disclosure?
Those are all the answers you had on the questions?
No, it was questions I had to answer you. I'm asking you now. I'm asking you now.
Well, there's some people that do that conformed consent where they have this form that have people sign that they told they was living with HIV.
Okay. How do legal? I'm going to the next question. How do legal requirements vary regarding HIV disclosure? That might be a longer.
The HIV criminalization.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the timing considered a key nuance in the HIV disclosure conversation?
No,
the key nuance. The key. Huh? We already went past that?
No, all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to number 8. What are the potential risks of forced early HIV status disclosure? We already covered that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
How should the HIV status disclosure be framed to avoid perpetrating stigma? And you covered that because you said that disclose in a public area and all the rest of that, and you gave the guidelines for disclosure.
Yeah, just be careful because people are not wrapped tight.
The last question that was up there: what practical safety advice is recommended regardless of disclosure timing?
What practical what?
What practical safety advice is recommended regardless of disclosure timing? So what they're really asking is what for their safety, can you give them any advice regardless of when they tell you, or if they tell you, if they choose to tell you, if they don't tell you?
Safety advice of when
for them, I guess. I don't know.
For the person that's telling?
What practical safety advice is recommended regardless of disclosure timing? I got to. Oh, here it is, D. I think we discussed it, but we didn't go in detail. Let me go back because I had. Come on now, stop flipping on me. Using condoms, PrEP, and other preventive measures are essential for all parties, irrespective of HIV status, and disclosing timing should remain a personal choice and respecting individual circumstances.
Thank you. Real quick before we go, PrEP, PrEP. It's hard for me to say the word. I can never pronounce it. Kick my butt. It's a medication out there for people who are not living with HIV, who can take one pill a day. They even have a shot. And you cannot contract HIV. Take this pill every day. So I'm telling you, things are changing.
Yeah. No, no. Do you know why I say that you said we said that 8 years ago.
Post-prophylaxis.
We said that D, what you're talking about now was almost 8 years ago. We was talking about that then. Because there was people that was coming on the show that was saying that then. This is not new. This is not new. See, people think if you tell them like that, what people think is new. So I'm gonna let you explain it to them.
Yeah. So this pill, I mean, the pill's been out. I don't even remember when the pill came out. But there is a pill that you can take. They say if you are if you are at risk of contracting HIV, if you feel that you're at risk of contracting HIV, you can take this pill every single day of your life. And you won't contract HIV. What else is there? There's PEP. You have to take this one 78 hours after exposure. Like, let's say you had a one-night stand and you thought that person had HIV or found out they did. There's medication you can take within 78 hours. A lot of people probably didn't know that either. Yeah. So.
See, close us out in your own way. You do it like you used to do Positively D.
Oh, you want me to do that?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
This is Positively D discussion. You have to remember that HIV still exists. You have to get tested. You have to use protection because if you have contracted HIV, you can get on medication and you can live a better, happier life.
Thank God,
Bye-bye.
thank God, thank God, thank God.
Have
And
a happy day.
yeah, we ending this thing. We're out.